Okay, so
That's
yeah, so part two of parenting a child with special needs. So this is probably going to be a series because there's so many
yeah.
different part of just being
The segments of it. Yeah.
yeah, and just just the whole parenting when you have a child that has special needs, it just involves so much. um, but yeah, so we were just kind of wanted to continue from the first part where we talked about our childbirth story and then the NICU experience, and now we want to talk about life after the
Right.
NICU.
Right.
That's when it really gets real.
Right.
That's when it really hits you that okay, life will never be the same again,
Right. Right.
and this is our new normal.
Right.
So Madison, after she spent 133 days in the NICU, which was 4 months.
Yeah.
So basically, because she was born at 24 weeks, we had to wait till she reached full term, which was 40 weeks. But actually, she got discharged, I think, almost week 41. She
Yeah.
stayed a little longer because they were trying to get her to breathe on her own without the assistance of oxygen.
Yeah.
And she was still struggling and she will still have apnea. So they decided, just to send her home once she was on a low level of oxygen. So she came home with the oxygen tank, this big old tank, and she had the cannula. So it was interesting because she came home. We had to learn how to use those new equipment, being able to keep her on a monitor. So we'll go to bed at night with the monitor that
yeah.
would beep every time
She
her
would be
oxygen
set.
level
Yeah.
would go under, was it under 80?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will start beeping. So you can imagine you can't even get real sleep.
Right.
Because
Right.
you have this child with this oxygen and then the beeping and then just all kind of gadget that we were released home with. But I tell you,
Backpack.
yeah,
if you
so every
can,
doctor's
yeah.
appointment, if I had to take her somewhere, I had to have this little backpack with the oxygen tank that I had to carry with
We
me.
still have one. Do we have one? A souvenir?
I did. I think when we
did you
moved,
keep
I
it?
threw it away, but I
Okay.
kept it just because I was like, I just always want to remember,
A little
because
tank.
it was just like, it took her 8 months to get off of it, and that was such a victory. So I kind of always wanted to keep that as a souvenir, remind myself how far we've come. But yeah, she came home, and so we were adjusting to having her with this equipment. And the moment she got home, one thing that I knew for sure is the importance of early intervention. And just
Right.
being a social worker, I knew that the earliest you start intervention, such as therapy, the higher chance they have to overcome some of the challenges.
And that's one thing I want to commend you on. You've always been on top of it from day one.
I tried.
You've
Yeah.
been on it like no holds bar, researching, getting it done, getting her everything that she needed to have a better life and productive life. You've been on it from day one, so appreciate you on that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a part of it. I feel like it's just being a mom that
Yeah.
mother instinct kicks in. But I think another advantage that I had was also being kind of a social worker working in healthcare for a long time. I kind of had a little bit of a knowledge of some of the resources, even though I had to learn a lot because it was totally different when it's your child. But that kind of helped a little bit. Like I knew to ask questions
Right.
and
Right
where to
questions,
ask the right
diagnosis.
questions. Yes,
Yeah.
doing a lot of research. Ask questions. There is no stupid questions.
There's no stupid questions.
Yeah,
Ask
because
away.
you are
Yeah.
advocating for your child, and you have to be the advocate. You can't just go by what doctors or therapists are telling you. So you want to educate yourself, know, what's out there, the different treatment. Don't just take the first one that they
Right.
tell you.
And fight for your child. And that
yeah.
goes for any parent, really.
Right,
Fight for
right.
your
Whether
child,
it is a
'cause-
special needs child or not,
Yeah.
you gotta be the advocate.
Right, right.
But especially when you have a child that has unique needs.
Yeah, they try to push them to the side.
Yeah, and they want to put a label on your child, so you have to fight because that child has abilities. It might be different than a typical child, but they have ability, and so
And
you
everybody
want
don't
to
learn the same anyway.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you really want to maximize their potential.
Right.
So you give them, you know, when you have a child that has special needs, you want to give them the best opportunity possible to learn, you know, to really
expose them to anything and
increase their
everything.
skills.
Right.
Yes, you know, as much as you can do, especially those early years where their brain is still being formed, because you know the neuroplasticity of the brain it's so amazing that you know she had an injury in her brain, but with neuroplasticity, your brain can learn a new pathway to do certain things that you're not able to do in the area of where your brain was affected. So once I understood that, I was like, we need to fire up those brain cells, those pathways, and maximize, especially those first, I believe it's like those first 5-6 years of a child's life. That's really when you
do everything that you know how to do.
Building,
you can do.
Right. So we started from the moment she got home, speech therapy. Even though she's an infant, at this point she's about 4-month-old, but we started speech therapy, we started physical therapy, we started occupational therapy, and I believe once she hit 1, we started vision therapy. So we have been doing a lot of the therapies, and you know, I will learn different therapies that insurance may not cover, but a lot of the times the newest forms of therapies, those are the ones that insurance won't cover, the one that, you know, it's showing, you know, that it's helping. So we would do hippotherapy, which is horse riding therapy. We did aqua therapy.
And she rode the horse before me.
So we started just really researching on different therapies out there. It's very expensive to when you have a child with special needs, because some of the things, I'm thankful that we had insurance. Madison had 3 insurance between his job insurance, my insurance, and Medicaid.
And family.
And
you know, and family
helping. And family, family also was helping in with, you know, the therapies and but also, you know, a lot of it you have to pay out of pocket because insurance won't cover. But you want your child to have the best, so that
you
can be
never
very.
know what things that's out there that's for free.
There are some things there,
you know,
and
you
you're just
can,
really applying for grants and things like that. So, you know, so you just have to do your research. But yeah, it can get pricey. So we had that, and the first 2-3 years, I wasn't aware that we could qualify for home health nursing. So trying to find childcare was getting expensive because I had to go back to work, and trying to go back to work and finding a childcare that will take care of her, because still at the age of 2, she still was not walking, she still was not verbal, she, you know, she wasn't independent, and a lot of the daycares, and she wasn't eating by mouth.
They were refusing to take her.
She was at risk of choking, so the daycares would just, you know, refuse. They wouldn't take her in. And then it got worse when she started having seizures, and then we couldn't even find any. Even the babysitter was hard to find. So, you know, I had to finally quit my job so I could stay home with her. And one day I just got so desperate. I put out a post on Facebook, you know, one of those mommy groups, and asking, you know, just kind of told my story. Where can we find childcare for, you know, when you have a child with special needs that is nonverbal and not mobile and still a toddler, you know. So I just kind of put it out there, and some of the moms there kind of, you know, made some recommendations. But one friend she was one of my mommy group friend. She was working for a home health, pediatric home health agency, and she told me, she was like, I'm not sure Madison will qualify, but it's worth the try. So I didn't think she would qualify because at the time she was not on a feeding tube, and at the time she wasn't actually having seizures yet, so I didn't think she would qualify. We didn't know that she was having it. She had already been having it, but we didn't know for sure.
And it wasn't like noticeable that she's doing all shaky seizures, violent seizures. It wasn't that type of seizure.
It was what they call absent seizures. So you wouldn't know, but once we knew, then we knew that she would do a little bit of or dropping of her head, her arms will go up and the eye will kind of twitch, go on one side. So that's when we started recognizing that these were seizures. But yeah, so before that, so we didn't think she would qualify for home health. And once they came and they did the eval, and thank God she qualified because she was choking risk, which is dysphagia. So she had to be monitored by someone when she's eating or drinking. Her lung disease, because her immature lungs got her qualified. So if you have a child, who you believe, who has special needs and you need help with childcare, check out home health. You'll be surprised what, qualifies them.
What was the bill, like was it I-9 or something? Not I-9. I'm trying to think of she could get some benefits because she was a NICU.
Yeah, in Texas, I don't know other states, but in Texas, if the child is born under 2 pounds, you automatically qualify for SSI, for Medicaid. So for Madison, she had Medicaid through SSI because she was 1 pound 2 ounces. Obviously, because of our income, the SSI dropped after she was discharged home. She had it while she was in the NICU, but after she was discharged, our income kind of disqualified her for SSI, but she still had Medicaid. And to be honest, that was much more helpful than that $30 check that they were giving us from SSI. So you check into that. So those were just things that we had to learn, all these new terms and new services and new programs and
new life,
new normal, So kind of just talk about how that affected just our relationship. That's a whole new video.
It was challenging, I guess because we were so involved with trying to make sure Madison is good. Sometimes we were disconnected from each other because you're just exhausted.
And you're just co-parenting.
You just roommate, you get your rest, you get your rest, I catch you on the flip side. And, that's how we were just like managing for a long time. I said
for a long time, because I think for about almost 3 months, after she got home, I couldn't go to church because we didn't want her to be exposed, because she was just really sensitive child, so
and it wasn't like we didn't want to go.
So I couldn't go to church. He was going to church on his own, which was very different for us because we always went to church together. So that kind of affected our, just a dynamic together. And, like I said, I wasn't working and I couldn't really go out even with, my whole idea of being a mom was completely
altered.
Alter is a good word.
It was upside down.
And I felt like
to explain it was hard for me to explain.
And then people didn't understand. They thought why you're being so difficult, why you're not having visitors at home. We want to come see the baby, but you can't. When the child is a preemie, you have to be like extremely protective because they catch anything. So that caused some kind of conflict with friends and some family members because they thought you were just trying to be the most. But I'm like, no, I'm really trying to save my child's life.
Well, you've been in there for 4 months.
Right. So,
I guess they didn't know all that we were going through at that time. Like that when you put it in perspective, like we're sharing right now.
Right.
But, you put that all into perspective and you're like, okay, that's now
it makes
that's
sense.
Why,
I mean,
and
that's one thing.
You don't got time to explain to people when you're in it.
And
like
that's
that.
one thing with the whole, especially with the premature and the NICU experience, you don't really get it until you go through it. I knew of people who had children in the NICU, I apologize for friends that I wasn't there for them because I didn't understand. But unless you go through it, it's really hard to really understand what they're going through. There's a lot of things that are going on, and these parents, they are confused. They're still trying to figure it out on their own. The last thing is that they want is to feel judged or rejected or so we experienced that because people didn't understand what we were going through and they thought that we were just being overprotective parents But I mean, we lost our child, almost lost her so many times.
We don't think we told them the episode of when it was January the 5th, when she really had that crisis, the brain injury that I think I would say caused a lot of stuff. And she literally came back to life.
Right, well, after pretty much the doctor told us that was it.
Her monitor desetting, and all the doctors are around her and us. And they
called the chaplain.
Telling us to pray for him, and it's dark in there, and you could literally see
oxygen dropped
from
to
20
19.
and then went all the way down to 19. It's like just slow motion, if you will. And we're praying. We got on the
worst day of my
pastor.
life. Yeah.
It was just crazy.
So we still have that trauma.
There, to look at, and all this is going on, that she could have been out of there. So her name, which is Madison, which means mighty warrior.
That's where that really came from.
That was significant, because she was literally fighting for her life. She was really fighting for her life.
Yeah.
And so you go through all that, and the shakiness that's going on, and
you come out of it a different person. You change. Your whole perspective on life changes.
Yeah.
So
all the stuff that you thought you cared about.
Right. So my whole parenting thing was just totally different.
Flipped.
I couldn't just go to play dates like everybody else. So I think after I stayed home for 8 months and couldn't go anywhere, I finally broke down, where I was like, oh my gosh, I need some social interaction. And I think Alan told me to sign up on Meetup and check some mommy groups and stuff. So I checked it, which was completely out of my comfort zone. I had never done something like that, where I just go meet up a bunch of strangers.
But I
mean, I was desperate, and I knew I needed some kind of social interaction and
just
people that could relate somewhat. So I did, and I thank God for my mommy group, because they were a great support system. At that time, and a lot of the friends there we still friends till today, and I really thank God for them. So that was just trying to find a new me. Still, while you are having this child, you still have to live life. You still are your own person, so not just giving up on who you are, giving up on your relationship, because that was one thing that we really had to work on. Is that
what's the statistics about marriages going through that?
The NICU, I think it's 90% where families that have experienced an extended stay in the NICU end up in divorce. So we are very fortunate that God gave us the grace to go through that season. But I could totally see how that would happen, because you're hurting and you're not there for each other. There's all kind of thoughts that is happening. So then you end up. Human
nature says we selfish anyway.
Right. The stress can put the stress in the relationship, and where people just feel like, I can't do this anymore, and they walk out.
Right.
So I thank God that Alan stayed, because I feel like he was very strong. And it's just God's grace, that we stayed, and but I think that even time brought us closer to each other.
Even though it was the dark time,
we went through that moment where we were just kind of figuring it out on our own. But then, that
bring us closer together and matured our marriage.
Because we were we realized we had, like I said, we had family, but at the same time, we
were forming a family.
We were forming a family, and we had to be strong for one, for our family now. We realized that a lot of our family members didn't really understand, and then after a while, people have to move on with their lives. So then it's just us. So that really made us stronger. Right. Learning how to pray for our family, and adjust in this new season. So So parenting. A child with special needs, it has a lot of a dynamic of how it affects a family. Just a couple, the couple, and the child, and just being able to love that child and giving that child the best chance possible. Because this world is cruel. They are going, unfortunately, to be treated differently. So you have to fight for your child. You have to really work hard to work at really training your child to see their value, their self-worth, and really know their identity in Christ, and not according to the world.
And speaking it to them as well.
Yes, really, I think that was one thing, that we really made it a commitment to, pray with her and reading the word with her, and just, praying God to give us the wisdom on how to raise this child. And it's still a challenge. And there's times where you feel overwhelmed and you feel like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to make it, but by God's grace.
You feel scared. To the man out there, feeling scared. It's okay. It's okay. It's a real emotion. You can be scared. It's okay.
Yeah.
But, it's what you do after that. Say, hey, I can do this. I got my family. I'll take care of them. Get you around some brothers or whatnot. Have a relationship with God, to keep your mind right,
because I had my mommy group, and after a while, stuff, I started getting out again. Alan was really great where he would stay with Madison and let me have my mom night out, and so that was really great. But I was concerned for him because he had no support group, no brothers out there where he could go and have his me time. So just I thank God for our church, having a life group and just getting him now, also involved in having a social life, because you don't want your whole life to revolve around doctors and equipment and therapies. You still have to have an outlet and still enjoy life. So, and I think really just to close this, if you were ready to say what has been our strength, because a lot of people really ask us, how are you still smiling? How y'all still having a social life and having fun, with everything that you go through and you've gone through and still going through. So what would you say?
I think this is for me, principle for not only just this episode, but just in life rather, is learning to laugh. Joy is your strength.
The joy of the Lord is your strength. That's the word right there. You better preach somebody.
So what I'm saying is that, learning to laugh, there's something to smile about.
Yeah.
There's something to, show your 32 if you got 32, if you got 6,
if you don't have
whatever you got. Show your teeth, whatever you have, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because, this life is dark, as we said, but you still got breath in your lungs. And, you got somebody to love you, and, that's something to be grateful for.
Right. You learn to appreciate the little things,
Right.
Yes, Madison may not be mobile right now. She may not be fully verbal right now, but we thank
believe
God
that she will be
seizure free.
Yep.
Yeah, some of you may not know, but she was, seizure free, now a year and a half.
Right.
And we thank God for that, because that's a miracle that still doctors can't even understand. So we're thankful for things like that. We're thankful that she's not committed. I know parents who have kids with special needs that have to be in a rehab center or live in a nursing home. And I thank God that we have our child here, that she's able to go to school. She smiles. She's a very happy child, for the most part. She has her moments, but for the most part, 98% of the time, Madison is a happy kid, smiling.
Happy.
And I thank God for that, because I know children that have conditions where you can't tell their emotions. They cannot express emotion. So you learn to appreciate that. And for those of you who have atypical children, let it be an encouragement to be thankful that God has given you a healthy child. It might be hard to raise those children. Parenting can be challenging,
but you can handle
but you have a healthy child, and that's a blessing. So for me, like Alan said, definitely just being grateful and remembering how far we've come, and just being grateful for what we have now. And like he said, Alan has really taught me how to laugh, because I think I was a little too serious before. But he's always have, he sees things lighter, and, he always has that sense of humor. And, so that amazes me, that we will go through the tough time, but we will always laugh together. We will always find something funny about it. And truly, that really taught me the scripture that the joy of the Lord is your strength. Just laughing even through the tough time, you are still blessed. Even, in your hardest moments, God is still good. There's still something good to be thankful for.
Right.
And when you focus on that, it changes your whole perspective.
Right.
So, you know, it's a constant, you know, battle, because your mind and your flesh wants to tell you to feel sorry for yourself. But I have to remind myself that we have overcome so much together. And if God pulled us through those hard times before, He can still do it again. So yeah, definitely laughter. And I learned that from you, because He just, you know, we'll have our moments. You know, sometimes, some days you feel, you know, low
I
and
can't
weak.
say that, you know, I'm a laughy, happy guy. For the most part, I try to be anyway. But there's times I'm down. Times that, you know, it's like, don't bother me today.
You have your moment. It's okay to have your little pity party, but just don't stay there.
Don't stay there.
Don't stay there. You have your moment. You talk to God. You can get mad a little bit, but don't stay there. That's the thing, because that's when you stay there, then you go into that deep depression, and that's not healthy. So you have your moments, but then you know, get yourself up, laugh, do the thing that you love doing, the thing that bring you joy, and just continue to focus on the things that are going well, things that you are grateful for, you know, those blessings in your life, and count those. All right.
Well, Philippians talks about, you know what I'm saying, thinking of those things that are pure, that are lovely, that are joyful.
On those
you
things,
have to continue to put your mind on that.
Things,
because if not, you're going to go
That's
to
a
the
good
deep
scripture
hole,
for that,
the depression, you know what I'm saying, the withdrawal. So think on those things, because then you'll be more light, more happy, more joyful. Then your day will be good.
Amen.
You know?
Amen. Yeah.
So
positive thoughts. Yeah. So just keeping a attitude of gratitude, you know. So that's definitely one thing that has worked for us as parents with a child with special needs, and just laughter and joy. Okay. So I think, you know, that has been, you know, pretty much, you know, I guess a little bit of our story of parenting. You know, there's so many other parts that's involved, but as we go on, we'll share, you know, how, you know, dealing with the new diagnosis and how you deal with doctors, and, you know, advocating for your child and all that. So we'll do different series on that, but just kind of wanted to give you all a little bit of insight on how we've processed this whole journey, and I'm still processing this journey, because we are just almost 5 years in, you know, so it's still pretty new, but at the same time, we've been in it long enough that I feel like now we can share and advise other family to just help them also in their journey. So if you have any questions, again, comment down below. You know, thumbs up on this video. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it, and we would love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much. See you later.
Bye.